Right, we're recording. I don't know how to make myself bigger because I can't actually really see myself, so I'm just gonna have to assume I'm in shot. Think we're in shot. Right. So let me just open the chat so we can see it. So, what I want to talk about this evening is understanding the basics to fat loss, fat gain, like the principles work both way around. It's essentially the same thing. And I kind of want to bring it back to actual basics so people can understand what's going on, what's what. So you understand the reasoning behind why things happen the way they happen. And one thing I want to make very fucking clear is this applies to every human. Now, this does not matter. It does not discriminate whether you've got PCOS, endometriosis, whether you are a perimenopausal woman, whether you are menopausal for that matter, so later into the menopause, whether you have an overactive, an underactive thyroid, whether you are diabetic, type 1, type 2, these principles apply to every single one of us. So, one of the common things you hear is, I've put on weight because I'm on the pill. The pill physically has no calories in it. It is actually impossible to put on weight just by taking a contraceptive pill, right? Now, what it can do is spike your hunger levels, and that is something that can inadvertently encourage you to want to eat. Or what can happen, the majority of you guys are corporate women who I coach naturally. What happens is, as we get older, our ability to move, it tends to slow down as we get so if you think about the kind of jobs you had as a late teen into your early 20s versus when you start to climb the career ladder as you're approaching late 20s, 30s, 40s upwards, you tend to take on more responsibility, and that responsibility again comes with a more desk-based position in the world of a corporate career woman. And that again is what is typically happening. We are becoming significantly more sedentary. But what I want to talk to you about is thermogenesis and how it actually breaks down so that you can understand this, so you can either start to make changes or get your head around it a little bit more. So we work off this triangle, okay? And like I say, this applies to absolutely freaking everybody. It may be that your hunger levels are spiked. It may be somebody is not on mute. Sorry, Andrea, I'm just going to mute you. I don't know whether it was you coughing or sneezing then, but I'm going to mute you anyway. Um, but this is the triangle that we live by. The highest number of calories that you will burn in a day attributes to your BMI. So this is your base metabolic rate. This is essentially you simply existing. So we actually burn the highest proportion of our calories in a day as any human being while we sleep. Our body is still working while we sleep. Believe it or not, even though we are completely horizontal, it does not matter. Your body is still pumping oxygen. It is still pumping blood around your body. It is still existing and surviving. So you will always burn the highest number of calories whilst you actually sleep, okay? We don't do anything about this. So this is essentially the BMR is if you were to go into a coma, not wishing this upon anyone for obvious reasons, but if you were to go into a coma, you would still need calories to survive. The doctors would make sure that you have a drip feeding calories with nutrients inside of your body. That you would still have essentially a feeding tube putting something into, even though you are completely horizontal, your body is not doing any movement, you would still need that to survive. So this is where women, and usually I would say this number is around 800 to 1,000 calories for women. So this is if you are doing nothing but purely existing. So this is why we will never set your daily calorie allowance down at this level because every single one of you is not in a fucking coma, right? Okay, so I hope that is understood as just a basic principle that we will always burn these calories no matter what we are doing as long as we are still alive. Okay. Then we've got non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is where the recommended daily amount of steps is 10,000. Now we have a lot of women who come into this program who might only start at 1,000 steps, 2,000 steps. Now I'm not suddenly going to turn around and go, you need to hit 10,000 steps tomorrow, day one of this program. We do have it where some women literally 180 and they just go hell for leather on that. It will move the needle because it is the second largest number of calories that you will burn in a day. Okay. But what we usually do is we gradually incrementally increase them. So you get out of that sedentary category as fast as we can actually get you out of it. But we also want to make sure that it's achievable and something that you can do. And this includes just going, like walking up the house. I don't know, let's say you're putting something away in a drawer. That is non-exercise activity. It might be that you're literally putting stuff in the dishwasher, or you are, I don't know, just walking out and about in work. You're going from a laptop to a meeting. All of that is non-exercise activity, which still burns the second largest amount of calories that we can burn in a day. The closer you get that to meet 10,000 or exceed 10,000, you are immediately giving yourself access to more energy burned. And when we say energy burned, energy is calories. That is what we live on as human beings. So your energy in is your calories, your energy out is all of this, essentially. So that's what we're working towards. The third one, so as you can see, the pyramid is getting smaller, which is giving you a context of what's actually burning more or less calories. So we've got the thermic effect of food. So this is your digestion. So you are burning energy, believe it or not, while your digestion is actually working. So that is a smaller piece of the pie, but we are still burning energy. So you know when you will have heard it about things like celery, it's actually a negative it's a negative carbohydrate, so it actually requires more energy to burn it than it actually does to eat it. So there are a small proportion of foods that fall into that category, but the rest, that you are still burning energy while your body is actually processing the food that you are putting into it. And the last piece of the puzzle, which is why we never rely on it for fat loss ever, is your exercise activity. So this is the smallest piece of the pie that is burning calories in your day. So when women go to train and they think I've burned 350 calories, it's almost negligible. And in the grand scheme of how many calories we are actually burning, that is the final piece of the puzzle. So for every single woman and man, the same principles apply to both genders. If your energy in, which is calories, matches your energy out, which is calories burned, if that is equal, you will maintain. You won't gain body fat, but you also won't lose body fat. You will stay exactly the same. If your energy in, so we reduce those calories, is less than your energy out and how much we burn in an average day, you will gradually drop body fat, okay? Whereas if your energy in is greater than your energy output, you're going to gradually start to put body fat on. And that's the consideration. So, you know, and this is why we do so much education around the weighing scales, your body measurements, your readings, your food log, because we can track energy burned and how much body fat you're dropping in the best possible way through the nutrition piece. The exercise piece in this program, we are not using in any way, shape, or form to track in terms of your body fat. Going up, going down, it does not matter. That's the muscle piece. And that's the long term, because the more muscle you have on your physique, the more BMR you get to create for your future self. So this is why I can live my life on such high calories and still look the way that I do. That is the goal, to get more muscle, and it will organically burn more energy even while you sleep with more muscle onto your frame. Hence why we are getting you to do this in the first place. This is also why we prove inside of Strong Her time and time again in the reverse diet. You might come into this program thinking that your maintenance is 2,000. Some of you, you thought it was 1,500. And what we are doing time and time again is gradually increasing those macros whilst you've built the muscle mass, and that is building this piece. However, you are not going to build significant muscle mass to change your BMR in a matter of weeks or 2 months. Your maintenance is likely to be the same. It takes a really long time and a lot of effort to build that muscle mass up to get your reverse diet maintenance at a higher point than when it started. Your first 6 to 12 months of lifting optimally and dropping body fat will get you into an incredible future self. That is why I prefer longer term coaching, because it is going to buy you significantly more of this and your future is going to look a lot brighter. So I just want to make that really, really clear so everybody can get their head around this and again understand the approach towards reverse dieting. But if your weighing scales are not moving and your log is telling me that you are on 1,100 calories, it's not that there is an issue, guys. There will be an issue because you're trying to convince me that your energy output is also 1,100 calories, which is really low. Now, you want a needle moving activity, walk more. Get more fucking steps in. If you want to move the needle quicker, you create more energy output through your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That will move the needle for you a lot faster, but we don't rely on that as data. We control through the nutrition piece. That is what we're doing. So I just want to demonstrate because I've been coaching a while. It's been a hot minute, do you know what I mean? And I just want to show you guys some of the examples, and I still see it to this day, and I can spot it a mile off. Weighing scales, naturally, I'm not guesstimating what I'm actually going to put onto this. So I'm going to show you. I'm not going to say who did this, but is she on? I don't know whether she's on or not. I don't think she is, but she might watch this back. But I'm going to show you what somebody logged the other day. Give me 2 seconds because these are in the freezer. So we have a bag of chips. And I've got no issues with chips, by the way. I'm a real life coach. I eat chips. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have no issues with that. Do we want to be eating them every single day of the week? Probably not. But I want to show you 40 grams. That is your 40 grams of chips. It's actually 39 grams because I'm not going to be able to get it to 40. But if you are trying to convince me that you had 3 chips, it's not even three, I'd say it's probably more like one long one and 2 shit ones. That is 40 grams of chips. But the reality is, there is no point trying to fib on this because if the weighing scales aren't moving and you are logging 40 grams of chips, I'm going to fucking see it. I'm going to see it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going to say, that's not true. And then why not just actually measure out and weigh? Do you know what I mean? Because you're only cutting corners for yourself. Because I'm only going to then tell you, you didn't have 40 grams of chips though, did you? That is not, you cannot tell me that that is going to suffice for an evening meal, okay? I'm not saying that's all the person had, but I've had it where somebody logged a 30-gram jacket potato, which would probably be a jacket potato this kind of size. Again, it's just, this is the moment where I know that people are trying to believe that they don't eat much, that they're not losing weight on 800 calories. It is physically impossible because most women's BMR is sat at 800 calories. And you are doing all of these other things. You are digesting food. You are doing the exercise program. You are getting some proportion of steps in. So it's usually just about accepting, yeah, I'm probably not actually being truthful in my log, or I'm just not taking the time to actually measure and weigh, and I'm just thinking that's 40 grams because it fits within my macros rather than actually being what you had. You'd be better off logging what you actually have, and then at least it's being honest, going, oh yeah, I'm not actually in a calorie deficit, am I? I've come out of this. So yeah, I can't really expect to get the results for that day. So let me just put my chips away. Let me put my chips away. So that's the chips example. So I have a shop bought pizza. For perspective, it's fucking tiny. It is so small that it hurts. So in the comments, in the chat box, put in how many calories do you think? I'm gonna hide it. How many calories do you think this pizza is? Take a wild guess. Take a stab at it. 950. What have we got? 1,000, 1,200, 9. What does it say? 988. That's very specific, Dina. 1,230, 700, 900, 700. One thing to note with pizzas, by the way, if you do a shop bought pizza, the calories will always be on the front for half of the pizza. They are crafty little bastards, so make sure you look out for that. So this one is just short of 1,500 calories. So for most women, this would be taking the average of 2,000 calories equals equilibrium. That is you at maintenance for a lot of women. If we were to say, based on a pure average, that would be your entire calories in one meal. If you were trying to drop body fat. Now, some of you might be slightly higher than that, some of you might be slightly lower than that. We're just taking that as a baseline example. But that would be your entire day's worth of calories gone in one meal. Pretty shocking, right? And this is not a takeaway pizza. This is the other consideration. This is tiny and minute and probably way fewer calories than a takeaway pizza, which is designed to leave you feeling hungry afterwards because there's a really low amount of satiating qualities inside of this pizza. So you're not going to feel full. You're not going to feel satisfied. You would get the cheesy chips to go alongside it. You might well drink a glass of wine alongside it as well. So that is a demonstration of how a tiny shitty pizza that would do nothing for you can, like your entire deficit or your entire calories for the day would be gone in one sitting. This is why we're trying to encourage you. Whereas a good example, if you bought, which these are not the ones I bought earlier, this is a half-eaten packet. If you bought some tortilla wraps, one wrap, these ones are 182 calories. If you just had one of these, some shop bought passata, and just put 30 grams of passata on this, 30 grams of cheese on this, and actually bought, the shop bought packets of, you could get tofu, you could get ham, you could get pepperoni if you still wanted a pepperoni pizza, you'd get the shop bought packets of chicken strips. You could literally create a really high calorie, no, you can't, a really high protein, low calorie pizza. Chuck some halloumi on there. Do you know what I mean? You'd be able to do an incredible pizza for fewer than 500 calories if you got creative, made it yourself. That would probably take no more than 5 minutes to make, 10 minutes in the oven to heat it up and cook it. Create a nice side salad, and you've actually got something that's going to feel like there's a lot of food there, but it's still going to be within your macros. So you can get creative with your own foods, but you don't have to use up an entire day allowance on that pizza. Wine. Oh, that dinged, it dinged. Hang on, we've got some tunes going on here. Right, I am going to do, I don't actually know what a glass of wine. Anyone used to work in a pub? I never worked in a pub, That's my one regret in life. I don't think I was cool enough to ever work in a bar. What is one, like a serving of a glass of wine? I'm gonna go with 200 ml. I don't know whether that's right for a serving or not. If anyone did work at a bar, let me know. Oh, 125. Oh, 175 medium, 125. Well, I've got 200 mil. I've got no idea. Right, let's see. Let me try and see if I can do 125. Let's see if I can get it in. Fuck off. That's a glass of wine in a pub. That's what they give you. That is tiny. There's no one on God's green earth is stopping there, are they? Like, come on, let's call it at that. There's no way anyone's going in to get a 125 glass of wine. You're not stopping there. If you have this at home and somebody stops there, then credit to you, but I wouldn't believe it. So this is 200 mil. That's probably looking more like a glass of wine, isn't it? That's looking a bit more like, no, I think this is actually a red wine glass. I don't drink, so I have absolutely no idea. And this bottle will sit here for the rest of the time. There's one. Ross, every time we do content's like, get the bottle of wine out of the background. And I'm like, why? It's been there about 6 months. If anyone follows along, they will be well aware that that wine does not move. It does not go anywhere. But that's a 200 ml glass of wine, okay? Now, I would say that is a glass of wine. That is about 200 calories. So if you have 2.5 glasses of wine, there's your calorie deficit allowance gone for the day. Ooh. That is your deficit proportion for most women to lose on average 1 pound a week, which equals 2,500 calories in a deficit across a week. You would be in a deficit of around 500 calories per day. 2.5 of them, you've completely lost your entire deficit for that day. Not only that, but this is also going to stay in your system, and your body fat is going to stop burning. You will stop burning calories until this actually exits your system. So you will probably have 3 days where you are not actively burning any energy. And you will notice this if you have a glass of wine because it will slow down. Now, that's very woman dependent as to how quickly your body actually allows it to exit your system. But usually around 48 hours to 3 days, roughly, is about the amount of time that that would take. So, again, it's really easily done, isn't it? And I mean, it doesn't look like a lot of wine, does it? Probably what, half a bottle, if that, is all it takes to suddenly undo your deficit on a Friday, Saturday night, or a particularly stressful day after you come in from work. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. So this is my demonstration ice cream. I also don't really eat ice cream unless I'm on holiday. It's not for me. I don't live for this life. You can see how long that's been sat in my freezer for. Probably the best part of a year since I actually brought this out. Now, I'm going to, what's the, let me have a look at the requirements. So per 100 grams, 166 calories. Per scoop, so now I'll show you per scoop, try not to knock everything over. Per scoop, this is claiming is 45 grams. So I'm going to show you what a scoop looks like. So I'm going to put it on my scales, get my bowl on, reset it back to 0. Right, let's have a look. Let's see how well I can get 45 grams. Try not to get the ice in it. Hang on, we're moving it over. I brought this out early because I knew it'd be rock hard. So I was like, oh, right, right, I've got that much. Right, that's about halfway there. So what was it? How much? 45 grams. I think that might be too much now. Yeah, right. That is all the ice cream you would get. That's it. That's one portion size, and that's 74 calories. Now, again, the reality is nobody is stopping at that, but if you're gonna have ice cream, don't eat it out of the fucking tub, for the love of God. Do you know what I mean? You know when a tub says per quarter. Now, unless, my only caveat to this is, if you really like ice cream and that is your vice, and we follow the 80-20 rule, and you want 20% of the things and the stuff that you love, that's where, let's say, it actually is one of these pots. I've got a pot actually. I bought a pot earlier and then I've had that. Where did I go? This guy. Oh, there's a red. There's a Ben and Jerry's pot in here. Thomas does like ice cream. I do not. So let's say if you were to, this will probably say, hang on, where are we? Where's the nutritional data? There you go. So this is a 465 ml tub. So per 100 ml. So you could roughly work out, right, just under 5 days. If you did want to have this within your daily allowance, you could say, right, in 5 days' time, this will all be gone. And do you know what I mean? I'm going to roughly proportion it out by 5 days, and I know I've eaten the whole thing in 5 days' time, therefore it is accurate. That's fine. If you're only intending to have it for one night, actually weigh it out. Don't guesstimate thinking, how much ice cream am I actually getting access to? So this is a Ben and Jerry's half baked. I don't know what that means, but let's just pretend we do. So this is 230 calories. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. This is per 100 grams, 265 calories. That's wild. That is wild. Oh, that's definitely gone frosty as well. I think we need to empty our freezer out. But do you know what I mean? What's this tub? So 465. You're talking like that much ice cream, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? The tiniest amount for nearly, if you had a scoop and a half of this, like 150 mil, again, there's your deficit gone. It's not stretching. Whereas actually, this one is 330 calories for the entire tub. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could easily fit like a third of that into 3 days, couldn't you? And go, right, I'm having a third tonight, a third tomorrow, a third the next day. And you know you're only at 110 calories per each time. But it's just to demonstrate to you, like, that's the saddest amount of ice cream you've ever seen, isn't it? Let's be honest, if you go on holiday, there's no way anyone's just putting that on their bowl. Not a chance, is there? Do you know what I mean? You'd definitely be going up for more. Like, it's such a small, pathetic amount. So it's just to demonstrate the accuracy behind what you're actually doing. Like the 40 grams of chips, nope. Nope, just not going to buy it. 100 grams of ice cream, I mean, I'm still going to question if somebody is stopping there. And now, don't get me wrong, if the scales are moving in the right direction, I'm going to be going, cool, we're all good. We are all good. But if the scales are not moving in the right direction and your goal is to drop body fat and you're claiming this in your nutrition log, I'm probably going to start to ask questions. Or if you are logging that and then at the weekend the scales go whoop and you put on half a kg, I'm going to be going, nope, nope, because that's over a pound overnight. Now, yes, we do fluctuate by 200 or 300 grams, give or take a little bit. There are, like, you're never going to see a dead flat line like this. It is going to do this gradually. We are going to meander up and down. We're not just going to go in a straight line, but this is the consideration to actually be accurate. And also, the other thing that people do, I'm not going to do it because I don't like it, is that they put on their portion size and then there'll be a great big slab left on here, and then that's the amount you suck and you lick. And the same for peanut butter, the same for things that get spooned out. Condiments, another big one. I know I talk about it a lot, but that's another one to watch out for. Nobody has ever had 2 grams of mayonnaise. I I'm gonna be calling you out on your 2 grams of mayonnaise, guys. Like, it's that kind of consideration where we just need to get a little bit more accurate. So let me just have a look at the comments. I think I might need to scroll up. Sorry, I'm quite far away from you guys to see that you can see it. That's more than my daily calorie allowance, yeah, and it will be for a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? That is the reality. And imagine if you have a pizza with a glass of wine and ice cream. I mean, we're suddenly totally like, if you had like, I mean, I think most people could eat half a Ben and Jerry's easily. So we're talking 500 odd calories just for half a Ben and Jerry's, 1,500 calories for that pizza. There's 2,000 calories. Plus you cup like half a bottle of wine, couple of glasses of wine. Do you know what I mean? We're suddenly at way over maintenance, and that's just the evening. That's just a Friday night or a Saturday night. And people think, no, no, I don't know how I've put on weight. I've got no concept. as to how it's happened. And that's not even with a takeaway where we have no idea of the calories, but it's guaranteed to be more than that shop bought pizza. Almost guaranteed. So you've just got to be really mindful. Everyone guessing the wine. With alcohol, when you said it stops you burn fat for 48 hours, would that be the case if it was just one beer drink? And does that mean you won't see the results if you drink at all, even within, yeah, yeah, unfortunately. So what's happening is I have done, if anyone wants a training on this, let me know. It might predate you, Joe. It might just be before you joined, but essentially, while your body is processing alcohol, it pauses the ability to drop body fat, even if it's within your macros. Even, and that is just the reality. So alcohol's not actually it's not a carb, it's not a fat, it's not a protein. It sits in its own calorie kind of macro information, if you like, but it does pause it while your body is processing that alcohol out of your system, even if it's just a beer, even if it's just. Now, again, you need to be able to balance fat loss with real life. I had a few beers. I went to a festival at the weekend, as you all saw. I had a few red stripes and I had, what are those things called? Hooch. Had a couple of hooches across the course of a weekend. Now, I'm not a massive drinker. Like, I tried some of somebody's gin that they smuggled in, and fucking hell, it was like drinking it neat from the bottle. I was like, nope, that's a hard no from me. I don't have the tolerance for it. But this is it. It does happen. But this is where ideally we don't want to be drinking every single week. We don't want to be stalling that process. And now, again, if you're going to a wedding or an event, but here in the UK, we have a huge binge drinking issue. And that is a real thing. And again, it's why a lot of people do end up like where they are, because they don't realize, even if it is lower calories and within your allowance, it can just stall the process for that period of time. Now, again, a beer is quite low in units, so it would pass through quite quickly. So it might actually be that with a beer, it's only stalling you for maybe 24 hours. But with something like wine that's higher in units and can be higher, then that definitely is something that could take a lot longer to go through you. So I would pick your poison and pick the moments where you actually want to drink and try and recognize when it is a habit. Are you drinking every single weekend? And is that something actually where you could pivot to a slightly better practice? Because ultimately, alcohol is a poison. It actually serves no, like some people make an argument that alcohol is way worse for you than drugs, as an example. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are arguments for it. It doesn't really, it's not a great thing. But again, culturally, we do have a lot of alcohol here in the UK, and like France has a lot, like, do you know what I mean? Certain places around the world do, but we are quite known for a binge drinking culture, and that's what I would be more guilty of. I would either binge drink or I would be teetotal for 6 months. I don't really have a window in between, but I'm probably learning now. I just don't really like alcohol. It's not for me. Is eating food with alcohol good or bad? I always thought food would cancel out the alcohol and soak it up, but I'm feeling not. So it does have, like, I know people that, if this is bad, but from university, where they would go and give blood, literally go and give blood and then get on it, because you are going to get drunker a lot faster. So you will get drunk far quicker if you have an empty stomach. That is the consideration, isn't it? So whereas if you're actually eating alongside it, you're probably likely to slow down, but that's not changing how fast your body gets it out of your system. That's just how drunk and how reactive you are to the effects of alcohol. So I'd say that's more that, rather than it doesn't really impact anything else in terms of whether your body's slowing down or speeding up its fat burning process or any of that. It's just, and also this side effect of having alcohol, it does release the hormones inside of your body that tell you, I want to get a takeaway. A lot of people pair drinking with different life decisions than you would otherwise make. So again, it's signaling you to go and eat high carb fatty foods. That is exactly one of the roles that alcohol plays inside of you. But again, if you're going to drink, lower calorie options are going to be better than higher calorie options because, again, then you're having the calories and slowing down the fat burning process and likely to get slightly different food choices than what you would if you wouldn't drink at all. So choose your hard. Do you know what I mean? Like cocktails are obviously going to be worse for you. I did that once, was great as I got drunk fast, but a while the terrible the next day. Yeah, so actually, this is an interesting thing. I was researching it the other day. It's not really enough for a standalone talk, but the follicular phase and the luteal phase of your cycle can also determine how likely you are to have a worse hangover or not. So when you actually finish bleeding, at that point in your cycle, that next week to 10 days in that phase, you are likely to respond better to a hangover than if you are due on your cycle, if your period is coming in. So I actually did research that because I just finished my period on Thursday and then we went to the festival on Saturday and I was just curious about the correlation and it is true. There is actually factual evidence to support that. So if anybody's as nerdy as I am and wants to read the research, let me know. But I can't tell you that for a fact. So that's interesting to potentially coincide your drinking with your cycle as women or not, because a lot of people don't tend to do it that way. I've never heard of cycle syncing drinking before, but could be a thing, you never know. Right, so any questions on anything I've spoken about or anything in general? I did have one come up earlier, and this has happened a few times to women inside of this program. So I kind of want to address this where people sometimes are curious about their weight and they step on the weighing scales of an evening. Do not do this. Please, for the love of God, if your goal is to like accurately assess your daily weight. If you weigh yourself in the morning and you are on a like naked body weight before food has passed your system, that is the data we want to track consistently, right? If you weigh yourself in the evening, now it's fine if you always weigh yourself in the evening because then you're comparing apples with apples. But if you weigh in the morning and then step on the scales later that night and wonder why you've put on 3 or 4 pounds, that's called real life because guess what? You've eaten a full day of food. Food weighs something, it is not empty. And the water retention, holding on to that food, breaking it down through your system, you are going to weigh more of an evening than you do first thing in the morning. So that's one thing I just wanted to be clear on because I've had it a few times where people message me freaking out, thinking they've suddenly put 3 pounds on over the course of a day. And I'm like, yeah, you have. It is just the effect of having food in your system. Weigh yourself again in the morning, and you will see that you have not, in fact, put 3 pounds on. So we have to, within reason, keep the time of the day that we are logging our weight the same. Again, within reason, but not 12 hours later. That's not going to do you any favors. I can't think of anything else that's come in. New ladies, I don't know if any of you are on, but you might well watch it back. We do not skip meals inside of this program. The correlation between skipping meals and especially breakfast and obesity is enormous. That correlation between the two, I've been coaching a long time. I would say as high as maybe 60-70% of women who step into this program are not in good food hygiene habits where you're eating 3 structured meals a day and then maybe with the odd snack here or there to keep you going. The correlation between those two things is huge. So you must eat 3 meals a day, like no excuses. That is something that we coach very heavily on. And yeah, so just make sure if you're new here that you are actually doing that, please. It happened today and I was like, no, no. Day one. Right. Any more for any more? I've probably droned on for long enough. Right. Have an incredible week, legends. If anyone's got any other questions on this, by all means, put them in the group chat. Obviously, put them in the group chat as we go through the week because we'll do our best to answer them efficiently. And I will see you all possibly Wednesday if I do a midweek stalk on your account if you're new, or if you feel like you need the extra support. If not, we will see you on Friday's check-ins, ladies. Have a good week. Bye.